Hello, hello, hello. This is Onda UNED, and we're very, very pleased to keep on speaking with guests from all around the world. And now we go back to Canada. Canada has been a great partner of us today, and we have Robert Martellacci, who is also a podcaster, producer of media content. A pleasure to have you here, Mr. Robert.
Thank you, Sebastian. It's an honor to be here at the ICDE World Conference. Such an incredible, vibrant community of learners and leaders, and kudos to you for hosting it as UNED. So honored to be here with a delegation from Contact North. So we are a media partner in this, hence we've been doing our shared podcasting, and it's so great to connect them.
I had just been there.
Have you on our channel as well at Mindshare TV.
No, thank you very much. So it's you come from Mindshare Learning. Tell me about that amazing project.
20 plus years. So I did a master's in learning technology at Pepperdine University in California, Malibu. My wife thought I was going through a midlife crisis in my 40s, but it inspired me we were challenged to change the world. And when I came back to Canada, I saw a real gap in the level of collaboration and communication on a national scale. We saw pockets of innovation. So we wanted to create more of a community and sharing, and hence we started the Mindshare Report. We published a weekly e-magazine, and we started embedding podcasts, video podcasts, in 2007 because I learned how to do videos in the program.
So imagine 2007, didn't even Facebook exist at that time.
We were a bit ahead of our game.
Great to hear that. And how have you been evolving those great ideas? Now you had a podcast just with the computer StreamYard as we use it, and a microphone, and you're live.
Well, it's not unlike for teachers and professors who have a multitude of tools. I was in a summit that we hosted. I'm co-founder and CEO of C21 Canada, Canadians for 21st Century Learning and Innovation. We had a conversation with leaders, and they were talking about 200 apps for teachers, up to 600 apps. So it's really about using the right tool at the right time, as we are here with your array of tools and StreamYard, which we coincidentally also use. And it's really about storytelling. You know, it's about the flipped classroom. It's about engaging kids in new and innovative ways to augment their learning and teaching.
One of the things you were telling off the camera that is very interesting is that the student has to feel they are, in order to learn in a better way, the best way to learn and to be sure that you have learned to yourself is to actually produce content with what I have been taught. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's a lot of concerns and angst that, was discussed at our summit, and Dr. Ron Elston is here, Maxime Jean-Louis, CEO Contact North. They have an AI initiative. So to be sure that students are being authentic in their learning and creators, demonstrating your knowledge, as we had a grade 3 student highlight the fact that he won our startup challenge. So we had a Schools of the Future entrepreneurship challenge. A grade 3 student created this innovation to remove plastics from the oceans and recycle. So he's talking about photosynthesis and all these complex terms. Grade 3. So if a grade 3 kid could do it, high school kids and college kids could do it too. We actually had him on stage speaking to our audience, and he did a flawless job. So the sky's the limit. When you give kids agency, there's untapped potential.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when they're kids. Kids don't have many of the barriers we have as an adult. They don't
mind roadblocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Mind blocks. Yeah.
How do you work that when you have dealt with people that is elder and
Right.
already has those blocks, and we have to get them away.
Right. So it's about modeling, right? You need to model for students. You need to model for teachers. There was a report that came out from the International Society for Technology and Education recently. Only 9% of professors in faculties of education are using the tech tools to model for new teachers going into classrooms. So I was shocked at that number, and that's U.S. I like to think it's higher than that, but if you're not helping prepare the new teachers with the tools in a pedagogically sound way, then they're going to be left behind, right? It's not just about using tech for tech's sake. It's being purposeful.
Yeah, definitely. And given what we have been discussing in this Congress, International Congress, two issues have popped out.
Yeah.
One of them is artificial intelligence, and the other one is we have to leave a model that is only focused on long-term degrees, and we have to reinforce micro-credentials as a
Right.
way to promote the skill learning rather than the degree learning.
Right.
So what can you say about those
Well,
two?
I would say this, that we need to do our job at the K to 12 level in preparing kids for the next level. I heard a talk earlier today about, university kids and preparing them in career planning and trajectories. Well, we need to do, there's a skills gap. So we had a panel on the skills gap between K to 12 and higher ed or post-secondary, that if we don't embed those essential skills and the resiliency and the problem solving, communication, collaboration, teamwork, because you're working in a team oftentimes to solve a problem. These kids are problem solvers. I have kids in my workspace. I have a co-working innovation center in a shopping mall in Canada. That's my passion project, they call it. And the startup winner that I just interviewed earlier, he's going to be in our incubator now, and we're going to mentor him. But we have kids that are starting businesses in high school. So if the systems don't adapt and change, you mentioned micro-credentialing, if we don't make it more efficient for them to learn more rapidly as they want, because the students are at the center.
Yeah, and they are used to a world that goes too
Yeah.
fast.
Right.
And
So
we have to run with them.
So as you are pivoting, you are doing remarkable work here at UNED, and I am so impressed with your agility in serving the community. The other universities in North America and around the world need to put the student at the center, pay attention to the customer. They're the customer. When I was in university, I'm a lot older than I look. And so when I was in university, the professors were rather quite arrogant and would do everything they could to fail you, because they could only take a third of the students into the next year. So there was a baked-in process of failing kids, because you can't take all the first-year students into second year. That's a pretty sad system. So I'm glad I survived, and it wasn't easy for me, but I found my passion in sport management. That's what I ended up ultimately in the end. But now I'm in EdTech. So the path isn't direct, right?
With hockey, no.
Hockey, yeah. Well, I thought I was going to be a professional hockey player, but I still play. Yes.
Great. So that's an interesting path to follow, from sport management to education and to media in a way.
Right.
What has this trip through sports management brought to you that now you apply as an edu tech?
You know, that's a great question, because when I became sport information director, and again, I volunteered. Volunteering has led to the jobs I've gotten. So I was assistant director, sport information director at the university. We had 45 sports teams: football, soccer, hockey, volleyball, basketball, golf, fencing, you name it. I had to do team travel, game management, and PR. And I had a couple of students working with me. My God, the requirement to be agile and pivot and multitask, I did that for 8 years. So after 8 years, I was like ready to move on, right?
Something else. But you have learned so much because you had to work. We were joking with that guerrilla type learning. You know, like you have to work.
I
without
love that
resources,
notion.
you need
I've
to
never heard that. I'm going to bring that into North America. Guerrilla learning.
Nice, nice.
But, you know, it really taught me resiliency and multitasking, and it enabled me to pivot again into a different area. We were just getting on the internet in the 90s, and Kevin O'Leary, Shark's Tank is a show in Canada, a startup show. Well, he's very famous, so he was my boss at the learning company. So the university, I was there, and my chair of our board said, "Oh, we're launching." My friend Kevin's launching this new software company called the Learning Company. We became the biggest in the world. Mattel bought us, and I knew nothing about EdTech, but I was passionate about learning, and I saw technology as the future. That was it. So I pivoted. So as long as you have that growth mindset, that innovator's mindset, that is essential to bake in to kids in elementary school. Teachers need to, if I'm a teacher, I better have a growth mindset because, you know, the way we're learning today versus 20 years ago.
Yeah, the person that was hired by the university 20 years ago and today says, "Oh, I don't want to learn AI because I wasn't hired to know AI."
Yeah.
That's not a way to
It's not an option, right? It's not an option.
Not an option.
So AI is very much on the scene. We're embracing it. I have a new app called Livable that I'm building that is going to help people live well and be happy. The cost of living is so exponential in North America, even I'm sure here. I'm in Toronto, I'm in New York, and I'm hearing $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I came up with an app called Livable, where you put in your data points, your age, your interests, your culture, the region, your state of health, and it's going to, through AI, recommend places to live.
Nice.
What do you
Well,
think?
those are useful tools that people need, especially it's also happening here both in the capital, but also in areas that have touristic interests. It's called a phenomenon called gentrification. Which is you have foreigners coming from other countries wanting to live there, and they displace the original
That
locals.
is not a system that I like.
No.
I've heard another system referred to where you might be gentrifying, but you create spaces for the people who live there too, to make them be part of the transition, right? So that's a concern and a challenge we have in North America as well.
Yeah, Contact North, you have a strong presence in the northern areas of Canada.
Rural areas,
that are very scatteredly populated. And
That's right.
Also that have a very strong presence of First Nations. Have you involved with Aborigines communities? What thoughts you have about
That's right.
dealing
So
with
we
them?
did a summit with school leaders at the Truth and Reconciliation Museum in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is a spectacular tribute to First Nations architecture. And we were there with that community and sharing and learning and indigenizing district superintendents and leaders from across the country. So very important to us, and we are addressing it head on to ensure that there's equity and diversity and inclusion in everything we do.
Great. Well, great to hear that. I don't know if you want to make a final thought for our lovely audience.
Well, I'm just so honored to be here in this country, which I've never been before. We got a taste of some of the tourism and culture and visited some artisans. And I love your passion. And I think when I see back home with people is they get too comfortable and complacent, and that doesn't spur innovation. You know, it's about being passionate and engaged, right, to help kids thrive, we are very internationally minded, and we have that DNA about us. So I'm not your typical Canadian, perhaps you might say. So it's that je ne sais quoi, as they say in French, that we have to ignite the flame in the kids to help them thrive. That's our passion, to help kids and people pivot and adapt and thrive in life.
Yeah, definitely. And having
Lifelong learning.
Learning, teaching the people to have, to be able to move by themselves, to find your learning. I think
Self-learning is, I'm a big proponent of that, and taking responsibility and ownership from a young age, right? This is not something that's done to you, right? It's something that you are in control of. The harder I work, the luckier I find I get. It's the expression.
Well, thank you very much, Robert Martellacci. It
Sebastian
was a pleasure.
Fournier, which is very common. I have friends with that last name in Canada. Are you sure you're not have roots in Canada, perhaps?
No, but I have roots in France. I just interviewed a cousin very short ago. A cousin
God.
from Montpellier in France, because he was
Wow.
Fournier as well. So the origin is from there.
That's a nice wine region, so you might want to get there and
Well, I will have to go. I will have to go. Well, thank you very much, Robert. It was a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Sharon, to Randall, Sharon Jimenez, Randall Zúñiga, and who's there? Jose Navarro, and Danilo Chavez in the production team. Also, Eduardo Olsen. We have been doing interviews the whole day, and we will have a little bit more. But we're done with this. Thank you very much, Robert.
And now we're off to...
Soon there's going to be a party as well, but we shouldn't tell. Anyway, we leave
we're still on
the
air.
broadcast. See you. Goodbye.
Sorry, thank you.